Alright everyone. Alright, what's up lads? By the way, if you're wondering what the hell is going on behind me, it's because the plumbers are coming over and they wanted me to empty my whole closet. And for proof, I left my closet open. Actually, it's not proof, but it was an accident. But yeah, so I played with white. It's the first game of the day. I always play with white in the first game. 10 a.m. I played against Joseph, who's around 1163 rated. And he played the Caro. And I told you guys in the last video, or the video before that, I'm bored. I came here to play the Italian game. I didn't even get to play it once. I didn't even get to play any of my gambits. When I tried, I got beat up for it. And yeah, like, just everyone here wanted to play solid chess. And that's what happened. I played the 2 knights. I always play the 2 knights against the Caro. I've played it enough. I know what to prepare against it. I know the ideas, the strategy of what I want to go for. And in this position, we can blitz out the opening. So they take knight here and they damage their own structure. And you guys can remember from game 2 that I went for the pawn pyramid with c3, d4. But after I analyzed, apparently the best move was to go for bishop c4. But unfortunately, computers don't tell you why. They just tell you what's the best move. Why? You're gonna have to read hundreds of pages of books, right? Or get a chess coach. So I decided to play it and then figure out why for myself. Okay, is that a good idea? We will see, we will find out. So I decided to play the best move, and then I looked even at the continuation, like 2 or 3 moves, and then play at the idea of why the computer thinks it's good. So they wanted to trade bishops, and I thought to myself, you know what? I've already moved the bishop. I'll give them the center, but I'll play d4 immediately, and I'll just keep my pawn there and protect it if I need to, and I'll have control of the dark squares. And I have a dark squared bishop, so it can help me out. My knight is helping me, and I thought, okay, here it's fine. There's a few weaknesses. There's one weakness here. It's a 4 against 3, so it's definitely an imbalance. Here the opponent directly plays c5. Someone shat in his cereal or something in the morning, and he just came for blood. He came straight for blood, and he wasn't having it. He played c5, which is a great move, and I played solid. I defended the pawn, and I didn't want to activate his bishop or anything like that. And my whole idea was to keep control of these pawns here, and if he wanted to trade, then I'll trade and play a 3 against 2 in the end game, which I think is nice for me. I always prefer queenside to be more pawns than my opponents. My opponent plays pawn takes, and now I thought for maybe 20 minutes. I'm not even lying. I've thought for maybe 10 to 20 minutes. And the reason I did was because I wanted to calculate queen here, and I wanted to calculate, rather than pawn takes, because I don't want to have an isolated pawn, whether I trade into an endgame and have my knight here, or give a check and then take the pawn with the knight if the queen doesn't block, or take it with the queen and then take with the knight after. I kept calculating different options. Now the best move is to immediately take with the knight, but I decided, in case opponent does any mistakes, I'm gonna go check first. And now it's completely balanced. But obviously I didn't believe that. Anytime there's 3 versus 2, I know it's not balanced, not in our level. So here, opponent blocks with the knight instead of the queen, and now he gave me an opportunity to double his pawns, so I go for it. And I calculated this. I'm like, if he creates an isolated pawn, that's perfect. That's all I need for his slight advantage. So here he blocks the pin, and I take. And he takes with the queen, and I take, and now he has one weak pawn, 2 weak pawns, and I just have a 3 against 2 weak pawns. And I thought this was winning. And before I castled, I made sure that his bishop doesn't come alive. So I played this, he played this, and now the rook came in just in time. The rook came in, and now he plays this. I play here to trade, and now I stop him from castling. Alright lads, we're back again. So this is where we left off. I had to leave for a couple of hours because I had a plumbing issue, and we had a whole stream actually in between those two videos. And if you're not part of the streams, what are you doing? You're missing out at the live interactive experience on Twitch. So join in the stream next time. Anyways, we have rook here. He played rook here to attack me. By the way, don't forget, every move I take like at least 2 to 5 minutes. It's a classical game after all. I'm trying to take my time, play with strategy, not only play the best moves, but try to play with strategy. So he plays rook b8, I go back, and I don't even push a pawn, of course. I don't want any holes, any weaknesses. I just play very solid. I want the bishop to keep him from not castling. If he ever moves his king here, the check comes in. It's not looking too good. He needs a couple of moves to get out of this whole scenario. So he plays bishop back, realizing that he's in trouble. So he wants to trade my best piece. And now it gives me the opportunity to give him a clean fork. And maybe he calculated this, but this doesn't work because I just take and it's pinned. So if this here, and he literally cannot do anything. He cannot do, like, rook b7 to protect, and I still have the pawn. I still have the pawn. Here I would definitely go for a trade. Since I am a pawn up, look at this endgame. King goes here, follow him. If the rook goes here, king goes here. Or not even. If the rook goes here, I go here. And that's a symmetrical game, except I have an extra pawn and he has two weak pawns. So this is an easy endgame to win. But that doesn't happen. Instead, he goes here, blocking out my bishop from the game, but that does not solve the problem. So I take, king comes here, and now I just go back and I protect this pawn twice. So I'm really being like very careful here. I'm protecting here. I have to move back, right? I have to move back, but I could have maybe went here, try to get this pawn, but I didn't want any of that. I just went back, and here he wants to trade, which I found it to be very interesting since he's a pawn down, and it lowers his chances of winning. And here, instead of like taking, I moved over. Because if he doesn't take me, I'm gonna double up and still have my rook in the e2 in the second rank. So he took, I took, and now I calculated also, if he takes and bishop here ready to push, I'm just in time to come here and pin him. So yeah, classical games, again, they're more fun because you get to calculate all of these scenarios. That's why it becomes really fun. Instead of just playing moves and hoping for the best, you get to actually play some solid chess. So here I, again, in case any pushing happens and I can't trade, I further protect this, and he pushes, I take, and this is just simplification. Now I have 2 pawns, his rook can't infiltrate, I'm just pushing, and he gives me another pawn, thinking he might be able to get this, but rook here. And now, after rook here, he played king e6, and after this, it's over. Like, my king came in, and I never let him come in. So I was ready to sacrifice a pawn to go here. And if he spent time, go here, and say he goes here, or he can't, he's gonna have to do something else. Say he goes back, I go here, he goes here, I just go here, I'll leave that pawn and grab these pawns. So yeah, this was game 5. Okay, so game 5. After I lost 2 games, the next day we played this game, we won. And now we're 3 wins, 2 losses, and 1 more game. And this is actually the most exciting game. The last game was against a 9-year-old who is not a regular 9-year-old. He was really good and he was intimidating. So yeah, since you made it this far, I hope you end up watching the last one. It's the most fun, most strategic, a lot of maneuvering. So it's gonna be fun. I'll see you guys on the next one.